how did you do that in 20 minutes? That normally we have 2 days set aside for that. They want some of the juice, if you will.
Welcome to the AI show from ThinkLabs. In the whirlwind of AI advancements and innovation, we do the deep dives and all the research, so you don't have to. We Fisher-Price the essential news, updates, interviews, and breakthroughs of the week, providing actionable insight that impacts you, your teams, and your companies. Now let's get started. Here's your hosts, Sam Stanton and Robbie Sawyer.
Well, welcome to the AI show, episode number 2. We survived a week, Robbie, and we've decided to use audio and video. So welcome to that big show. This is actually what Robbie Sawyer looks like, and I am Sam Stanton, and joining us today is Headley Stanwell. Shout out to Bill Arscott, providing special models like this to help big shoots in studios like this set up.
Right.
We just thought it'd be great
Halloween
to bring
edition.
our one subscriber to the show so far to join.
He doesn't know he's listening, though, does
He's
he?
not been doing much commenting or anything. But Robbie, what are we going to talk about this week?
We've had a lot going on this week. It's been tons of fun. It's been a little bit of an odd week after talking to everyone at IMEX. I've been contacted by a few people, wanting more specifics on exactly. People understand Redbutton, right?
Right.
And they understand it's not a transition, but it's, just sort of evolved into, a lot of AI components. And, out of that, we've now created ThinkLabs. And that question has come up a lot. What exactly is ThinkLabs? And, I thought it might be a good idea for us to pull the curtain back a little bit and actually share with people what it is that we do and what our focus is on a day-to-day basis, and, get some insight from you. I mean, at the end, you are, the creator of so much of this, and just try to, get into your head, which is a scary place, I know, but get into your head and get some thoughts on how some of this has evolved. Specifically, I think it'd be awesome to start with QuickStart and QuickStart.AI and get your thoughts on, why that is such an incredibly important component. Again, we talk about, it's not just about the tool, right?
Right.
It's the knowledge, right?
Right.
As I joked around in the last show, I have tools, but I don't know how to use them.
Yeah. So, I mean, all this AI stuff is new, but the way we approach innovation isn't. Innovation and change are scary for people. Scary because they don't understand, scary because they don't know the outcome, scary because they don't know how it applies to them. And unfortunately, the answer for a lot of corporate and enterprise in our industry is, here's our future speak and AI, and we're doing all that, right? That's every speaker, flying cars, robots, and laser beams, right?
Yep.
So taking our traditional practices, which, many people have known us as a production and entertainment company throughout the decades, but what we always had was this innovation thread that went through everything, and we had extreme nerds building really unique things, again, all about unique experiences, elevating experiences, and empowering people. So there's my little setup. That was pretty good, wasn't it?
That's pretty good.
Okay, so now let's talk about specifically how all that works for AI. So again, there are a different tool every day.
Man, yes. And we'll talk about it here in a little bit, but you exposed me to a couple this week that were just...
We're going to have fun with that.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And those are things
and you joke about it all the time. We did this week. It's like, can AI do this or can AI do that? Well, not yet, but wait until tomorrow.
Yeah, wait till tomorrow.
Next week.
And so with that, there's all these different platforms and tools and assistants and all that stuff out there. But the bigger thing people need more than another tool or more than a future speak is that understanding, right? To make them feel comfortable. And this is the cool thing we hear with that. So specifically then, we created something called QuickStart.AI.
Yeah.
So some like to call that a keynote. It's really a workshop, or even better, it's a conversation, because that's what we like to do around that. And we follow our methodology of confuse, amuse, and educate, right?
Yeah.
So it's like, what in the world is going on, but what's happening? So what the real thing that is happening that's needed is that we do a general overriding explanation of AI, point out some ways in which you're already using it in your life, right? Then we jump into quickly, this is what generative AI is. We don't hurt anyone's brain with this. It's just a very high level so that you sound really knowledgeable on your next Zoom, right? And then we need to start making this relevant for the audience. So it starts with, that's all great, but let me share some really cool examples of how generative AI has worked and is working. And then the real crux of all this, understanding the audience, understanding their daily flow, and looking at opportunities to apply the AI to really smash that time and that focus of what they're doing, really smash it and compound it so that they can focus on the reasons they're there. No one is hired because they write great emails, Robbie. I hope anyway. And if you're in that position, you need to go look for another, or that you take great meeting notes.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
But that takes up all of our time.
It's important. Right.
It's important.
Sure.
And that needs to happen, but it doesn't need to take up all your time.
Yeah.
So instead of taking up 80% of your time, let's flip that equation and make that take up maybe 20% of your time and leave the 80% for you to focus on the reason you are there, because you're creative, you're strategic, you're organizational. You, most importantly, and AI hasn't done this yet, but let's wait, have tremendous empathy and understanding of your team and your clients' needs. And AI can't do that, right? So that's why most folks are in their knowledge professional positions. So how do we maximize that time?
Right.
How do we use AI to do that? So in the QuickStart.AI, it's normally done along with our boggler bar activation, because we go through that whole process, give them that know-how and knowledge and understanding, and then we give them a generative AI assistant. Yes, it's ours. We're partial to that for a bunch of reasons, which we can get into. It's called Boggler. But we give everyone that assistant so that they can, that day, while they're sitting there, use it and do something fun that's relevant to them.
Okay.
So that's QuickStart.AI.
Winded you up too tight right off the rip.
With a boggler bar activation.
Okay. So back up a little bit.
Okay.
Can you actually give us, or give me, a couple of examples of some of the interactions that have taken place actually in the workshop itself? Let's say from somebody that's in the workshop that is not familiar with AI, it's a complete mystery to them. They hear about it, and what has their response been?
That's great, because so much of the time we spend time creating these crazy presentations and who's going to say what, when, and where. But we using back from our old days of design thinking, understanding the audience and building backwards from that. So we've had tremendous responses after the fact, and it's really eye-opening of people coming up going, I was scared to death of all this stuff, because I have a friend of a friend who has a cousin who has a sister and a brother whose neighbor was fired because of AI, and I know the whole world's going to do that, and I don't even understand it, but you guys made it really simple for us to understand. I've been playing around with it. That's interesting too. At the beginning, we asked how many people have played with ChatGPT or the likes, right? Typically, we've seen up until this point about 50% have maybe dabbled with it or even found where to go do that, right? And then how many people are actually doing something with it? And that's maybe another 30%. They just dabbled, and then typically they bounced out, went off to something else. 10% are actively using it and have seen purpose. And then I think the last 10%, I'm trying to do all my numbers here. My last 10%, they're actually, like, the companies have allowed them to use it and they've deployed it within their work. And that's really interesting, and that's very forward thinking. But that's typically the audience. So they're coming in with a big question mark, and hopefully we have leave in that short amount of time with an exclamation point about let's go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, we both know we were at an event this week, and this particular event had a futurist talking about quantum computing, which is awesome. But the whole focus of what we've done, I feel, with QuickStart.AI and the boggler bar, the activation bar, is that we're talking about generative AI. We're sharing that with folks at the very basic level. But the cool part is we're also giving them a tool to utilize immediately. So they're given an account on Boggler, and then they're able to walk up to one of our screens, touch screens at the activation, and they can begin to play with it.
Yeah, and it's fun to watch people enter the room, and we try to interact with them. And so they're there because they're interested, and good for them on that. I don't think anyone's being forced to go there. This is a hot topic, obviously, but it's fun to watch them leave.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like when we say, "Hey, the bar's open for you to go talk to some of the gurus,"
right?
You see a beeline of them running out or kind of rushing the stage. Typically, we'll do maybe a masterclass or a deep dive later that day or the next day on prompting. I mean, we've had about 3 or 4 opportunities to do the master classes, but they never happen because there's so much how would yous and questions and follows ups that happen that they just completely take over. So this is not put in 5 minutes for questions and then we'll see you guys later because we got to be out of here. We stay and engage because one, we love it and it's fun to talk, but there's so many questions.
Yeah.
So that's QuickStart.AI. That's the Boggler bar activation. Super hot topic. And, you know, it fills that need that maybe people aren't necessarily getting right now, to your point, with the future speakers.
Right.
And it's done in a fun way. It can be done for the mailroom folks as well as it can be done for your executive board advisory meeting, blah, 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 blah. Because honestly, this affects everybody.
Yeah.
And so on that level, they're understanding what it is, and then they need to understand how their teams could and should use it. And that's a very powerful position to be in, as opposed to, we're just not going to use AI or just use this AI or don't. So to have that understanding and knowledge of how people are going to do that makes you just so much more effective and has you start making better decisions.
Yeah, it takes the mystery out, right?
Right.
And it, at least begins the process of them hopefully
kicking the tires a little.
Yeah. And then hopefully being able to begin to master it.
So that evolves then into this person now turned into a superhero in their own mind. And God forbid the person on the plane next to them when they start sharing this new information, but they get home, they start using this in what they're doing at work. And at first everyone's like, enough with the AI, but this has happened. I mean, this happens after everyone we do, Robbie. Right. Eventually the other coworkers go, well, wait, how did you do that in 20 minutes? That normally we have 2 days set aside for that. They want some of the juice, if you will. I don't know if we called it that before, but
we've called it worse than that.
Okay. They want some of the juice. So we've actually created a virtual QuickStart.AI so we can get just a small team on, and again, a little more personalized to the specific needs there. That's really fun. The next evolution as we kind of bounce through this is, holy cow, this is great. I get it. I'm using it. I'm seeing some places. I kind of feel like I need a little more instruction how to really use it better. And when I say use it, hopefully it's Boggler, but it might be that corporate has said, hey, we bit the bullet and we've committed to Microsoft for the next 100 years or Google or whatever it is.
Right. It doesn't matter.
That doesn't matter.
Right.
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 So we are there to help understand whatever AI you're using. And by the way, it's called generative, but we like to call it collaborative, right? Because it truly is a tool to empower somebody to have, in essence, as an assistant sitting next to you that is doing all that busy work. So after all that kind of happens and they're like, wow, this is great. This could absolutely change our department, the way we do things. How do we do that?
Yeah, exactly.
How do we do that?
How do we take it back? How do we begin to understand how we could potentially implement some processes, into our day-to-day workflow?
So in our goal to have over 100 mentions of AI on our website, we came up with a new product or service.
What are we at, like 90 something?
90 something.
We got to do more.
Facilitated.AI. Facilitated. Amazing fun because we go and we embed with a team, a small team, a pilot team, the courageous team, the innovators, right? But we sit down with them and say, let's identify your biggest time suck during the day or the week or whatever. And we want to just shotgun with you right next to you and watch you go through this process. The cool thing that kind of freaks people out at first, and then they're like, oh my goodness, is we use our Boggler Assist. So Boggler Assist then will listen to what we're talking about. And we go through the process with the team to understand and look at where are those spots where we can apply the AI to crush those times, to crush the processes, to increase the creativity, to increase the quality and professionalism. And then with that, along with the boggler assist, we look at that and create a blueprint for them to start using with their team, but also now have that to share with others on their team.
Yeah, anyone that knows Sam knows that you can't control him. You can only hope to contain him. but let's, okay. So boggler assist, let's just go there.
Okay.
That because things are evolving literally daily, weekly, even for us internally here, you know, give us a little bit deeper dive into what boggler assist is, and, you know, give us an example of how powerful that can be.
So again, quick start for the explanation, quick start virtual, so we can do that wherever.
Deeper dive with
Facilitated. We start going in and identifying specifically within your company, your department, your
use
team,
case, right.
Off we go. And then for them, for us, I mean, selfishly for us, right, is boggler assist. And so it is this, it's a web-based tool, so you have to have connectivity. But in essence, what it does, and I won't try to get too nuts and bolts on you, but it records in high fidelity and identifies the people that are sitting in a conversation, an engagement.
Okay, fine, whatever. I can record a conversation.
And then,
what's special about that?
Well, it identifies each of the people, right?
Right.
And then it transcribes it, puts it in text, which we need text, we need data, right? We don't need voice.
Right.
It then drops it into the boggler ecosystem, and then turns that text into knowledge, right? And this is all happening in real time. And so when you're done with your meeting, your discussion, or what have you, like we're doing right now, everyone, you finish it, and the minute you finish it, it starts jumping on a bunch of tasks. The first task is, can you please summarize this entire meeting, right? Can you please create the action points and mentions?
Okay, so that's a prompt you give it, or is that
a prompt?
It's
an automated prompt, and it's a button that you hit that just does that, right?
Okay, yep.
So it summarizes the meeting. It creates action steps. You can identify key points or elements that any person in that meeting needed. You can say, tell Robbie everything he needed to glean from that.
Okay.
Right? Let's send a follow-up email to everyone. Let's create an executive summary we can take to management to tell them how we solved whatever thing we're doing. Or, but I mean, just in like our sales stuff we were doing yesterday, you're sitting there with a client and they're looking at you like, this jerk is not writing anything down. Is he really listening to me?
So nothing is lost in translation.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Crazy.
And human nature, when we go back to our thinkers, when we're having a conversation and I start to understand where you're going and what you're thinking and what you're asking, I'm already starting to put together my response in my head. And in doing so, unfortunately, I can't listen and do that.
Right.
So I'm only really listening to half of what you're saying.
Right.
So it's been we've only had this thing for a week, Robbie.
Right.
But within a week to start seeing, oh my gosh, this was a much deeper conversation than I thought we had. And look at all the stuff that was gleaned from that, right? It is crazy. So this is now, all of this AI stuff is how do you take as much information and data and knowledge and make sense of it? We're now just adding more data to make things more relevant.
So with Boggler Assist, at least for now, that's a in-person, face-to-face engagement. The ability to record and deal with just audio via on the phone, or, I mean, that's coming down the road as well, right?
Well, I'm dropping it on Zooms. Now you got to tell everyone, hey, do you mind if my assistant sits in on this? And then they're looking for someone. You're like, no, it's right here. It's Boggler. So just sit it on my laptop for the Zoom, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the other day I'm working through a data flow of some crazy project we're working on, and I'm just trying to get stuff out of my head. I just fired up Assist and said, hey, please track with me and write all this stuff down. Right. It's getting a little scary that I have more conversations with machines now than I do people, but it was phenomenal to take my ideas, as you can hear, that are all over the place, popcorn, ding, 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 and pull them all together and make sense of it, right? Because now it is in my private knowledge base, and that I can say, take that and make sense of it, because Sam's crazy, right? Or not.
I have it on authority.
Can
Yes.
you listen to what I said and look and see if that's in the right order?
Right.
I mean, who knows what you ask it?
Right.
So, I mean, Boggler Assist is just an amazing acquisition tool
Right.
to get more data and knowledge into your Boggler ecosystem.
Okay. Yeah. No, that's,
We went a lot longer than you wanted to.
no, but that's my, I mean, listen, it's, again, as we've said before, you are the guy that is completely embedded into all things technology. I benefit from hanging out with you because I get exposed to things that, you know, the layman typically wouldn't get exposed to. So from a sales perspective, to your point, being able to sit that down and share with the client, as I did yesterday, quite frankly, and, you know, again, to your point, hey, do you mind if we record this conversation? By the way, it's going to be as beneficial for you as it is for me.
Right.
And, you know, we wrap up the conversation and we're able to then share exactly what that conversation was about and then create all of the action steps around it is a mind blow. So, you know, this, you know, I have a 15-year-old kid that's a sponge. He just, you know, will sit, and I don't know if he's really paying attention or if he's just, you know, trying to be solid. But we were having a conversation the other night, and I actually sat it on the counter and I shared that with them. So,
right.
Wow. Imagine if you could literally set your phone down on your desk in your chemistry class and record everything that your chemistry teacher is saying, and then be able to take that information and be able to make sense of it. It is an absolute, I mean, even for a 15-year-old, it's a mind blow.
It is. And it's like, I was sitting with an IP attorney the other day, and he was talking about all this stuff, which I don't know what in the world he's talking about, right? But I definitely needed to take notes.
Sure.
But I don't know what I'm taking notes on. But there's Assist grabbing it all, right? For two purposes. One, I needed to make sure it was all documented. But at the same time, I left and hit the button and said, now, what did that guy just say?
Yeah.
And it took legalese and translate. I can't imagine your son's smart, so he gets what's being said. But if you didn't, right, you would say, this was an amazing class. Can you please break this down and put it in a step-by-step so I can understand it? Can you give me an example of what the teacher was doing, how that could use?
Yeah, I mean, kids here early on, make sure you take notes. Take notes. Are you taking notes?
Right.
I do it as a parent. Did you take any notes? He's never taken a class on how to take notes. So anyone listening, or for Headley, who may be the only one listening.
Or watching.
This
is our first episode.
Right. We're watching what's happening.
Thank you.
Nobody's kid takes classes on how to take notes. So as I shared with him, you know, the technology is available. Use it.
Yeah. And for us professionals, I use that term lightly, but it is so weird this week to not take notes and feel guilty that the person that you're talking to feels like, what's this? Why are you wasting my time if you're not paying attention or taking notes?
Sure.
It's crazy. Anyway, that's Boggler Assist.
What's the story with that? When can we look for some type
Oh,
of...
I get to use it right now.
I know, I do too, but you know.
No, so that is on a, this is a good segue. Good job, Robbie.
Yeah, right.
So that is on a 4-week kind of timeline, because we're in prototype now. We're playing with it, but that should be out in about 4 weeks or so. But the reason it's coming out, Robbie, and the reason this product happened was not only our design thinking and our empathy for you. It is an embed inside of a very revolutionary, honestly, service that we call ThinkAI.
Okay.
And ThinkAI does not mean artificial intelligence. It means augmented ideation. So as you know...
It means AI a little bit.
A little.
Okay.
It's AI infused.
Sure.
But as you know and remember, we've Thinkers Society, another division of what we do.
ThinkersSociety.com.
ThinkersSociety.com. We help individuals get to their better ideas faster, and we do that at scale with big groups in an ideation where you have scientists or moderators or us idiots up there guiding people through these scientific processes of how do you gain knowledge and ideas out of a massive group, make sure they feel heard, and process through those and go from challenges to solutions.
And the being heard part is huge.
Huge.
Right.
And we felt pretty proud of what we were doing prior.
Right.
But then we sat down and we did some boggling on this and tried to understand. We basically facilitated ourselves, Robbie. How could we infuse AI into this process to make it even more impactful? And that's honestly what we did. So ThinkAI, so you don't need to go hire Ernst & Young, or you can if you want, okay? And spend 6 months and we're going to go around and we're going to interview everybody and do all these things. And then we're going to get our analysts and go through it. And here's what you need to know for $2 million.
Right. Instead,
ThinkAI, the AI platform, the ThinkAI platform will go and let's deal with 500 people, right?
Okay.
So we've got 500 people coming to a convention. The ThinkAI platform has everyone sign in, ask them a few questions, ask them if they'd like to participate anonymously, i.e. psychologically safe, so they don't have to raise their hand in the middle of the meeting. Like, I can't believe some ask people to do. No one's going to contribute when you do that. But if they want to do that anonymously or whatever, we take a little bit of information. We let the AI then create the most divergent, different sort of personalities and group as small circles of 8 to 10 people. So they makes all these things. We get everyone in their circles. We start the process like we did before. Everything is being recorded with Boggler Assist, right? Because now we're providing inference and context to what's going on. And we go through our processes. And when we get to the point where the individual is working on their ideas to solve a solution, it then says, enter them onto the platform, in which they do. And it says, hey, do you want to improve that? Who doesn't want to improve it? Who doesn't want an upgrade, right? So they hit yes, and then all of a sudden, boy, my idea sounds amazing.
Right.
So now, to your point, we're empowering the people a little bit. They go through a rating and a ranking within their circle. Those ideas float to the top. The whole group votes on those. But what's really happening, Robbie, is we're on stage with the moderator, with these big screens, with our Boggler engine running, and we can, in real time, say, what are the common ideas everyone's having? What are ideas that we could implement in 2 days?
Yeah, no. And in backing up a little bit, they're there because there's already been a predetermined problem, challenge, if you will, that they're there to solve for. And we can do a whole nother show on Thinker Society and the science behind thinkers, and then, as well as, ThinkAI. But, it is amazing. We've seen it pre-AI. We've done it pre-AI. We've done the manual version, if you will, for 500 people, and we've done it for 10 people. But it is amazing when you put a group of people together that are not necessarily like-minded
at all.
They don't, they may be, you may have someone from,
you've got CEOs in mailroom.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody.
And they, typically, to your point a second ago, they're not going to feel safe to offer up their ideas. And if you've ever been in a brainstorming meeting in a boardroom and, it's 10 people in the room and it's always the 2 loudest people.
And 2 most senior.
2 most senior people. And there's probably some I don't know if we can cuss on here.
You just did.
Ideas coming from this person at the end of the table, but does not feel safe to give them.
Yeah.
And then that's so important.
That empowerment. Yeah. So the other part to that is, so they can contribute, they vote. Yeah. So not only are their ideas being submitted, their voice and their opinion is being included, right?
In an anonymous
fashion, or not, or they can say, no, I want to be associated with that.
Right.
And then their action points are done that. And then the other cool thing. So first of all, then all of that is all summarized and done, not in 6 months, but in 2 hours, right?
Right.
So you leave with an executive summary, with action steps, what's the plan to move forward, just on and on and on, in a huge repository of fantastic ideas that may or may not be leveraged at that. But the fun thing I love, back to your initial point, is the exit interview for every attendee. And it's very simple questions of, did you enjoy this process? Did you feel like you were included in the process? Do you think we reach the best ideas? And then finally, would you like to be a part of this going forward, either in a pilot or as an advisory reviewer in the process?
Right.
So that is inclusion on the highest order.
Right.
That is empowerment on the highest order. They now became a part of the process,
Yeah.
right? Not just being told what to do.
Yeah, they bought in for sure. I mean, it's a cool experience. You hit on something a minute ago too, and we actually had a client share this with us, but I forget the name of the group, but we did it in Chicago. This is before the pandemic. And you hit on the fact that, you know, an idea may not have been the most popular idea.
Right.
There's a lot of not the most popular ideas, right? But to be able to keep track of and to catalog all the other, what at the time might have been a crazy idea, but to have access to keep those and to be able to have.
So traditionally, if we're just sitting in a room and CEO says, who's got an idea, you're going to get like 3 or 4 maybe, right?
Sure.
So with the previous thinkers, you would have 3 ideas for each person on paper that someone's got to go sort through and do all that stuff. It was a little clunky for sure. But now
it was a manual.
But now you've got 3 ideas for 500 people. 1,500 ideas that are searchable and turned into knowledge. Like, hey, did anyone talk about better ways to greet people at the reception area?
Yeah.
Right? Instead of little stupid stickers, can we do something different? Here's your answer now, because it's not data. It's not an idea. It's now knowledge.
Right.
And it's all trackable. So that's that. I think we've kind of done too much of a commercial now. We should move into some fun stuff.
I think it's, and listen, I'll interrupt you. I think, and we've joked about this, it may be a commercial.
Yeah.
It may come across as a commercial, but I think it's interesting.
It is.
It is interesting. We're a little too close to it, but with what's happening right now and what you just, again, coming from corporate America and sitting in those brainstorm meetings, we always talk about, SMBs all the time, small businesses, and, not all businesses have the ability to go, hire Ernst & Young.
Right.
So the ability to engage with, whether it's us or any other company out there that may be doing this, it's important because, those resources are incredibly valuable.
And the thing that shocked us with our dev team is not only is this thing moving along really quick, they're like, so here's how the virtual one works. And we said, oh yeah, the virtual one. Robbie, did you ask for that? So basically you're going to be able to have either on-site, a hybrid, or pure virtual of this exercise, which you could not do before with paper and do all that stuff.
No, again, we'll have a whole episode about ThinkAI, but the Thinker Society.
Yeah.
Because that is incredibly relevant. But I remember we got contacted when COVID hit because thinkers and the workshops that we were doing, the thinking outside the box workshops, were really, ramping up.
Yeah.
And people would come to us when COVID hit. And it's like, hey, can we do it virtually? And I think we tried to do a couple virtually. Man, it just didn't work.
No, because
it's, the engagement component is so important with those. But for ThinkAI, it's, that's fun to be able to take that, and be able to potentially do it virtually.
Our nose is always to the ground. We're tweaking and testing and doing all kinds of stuff with the latest and greatest. And there's been a bunch of stuff that's happened this week that we got to at least rapid fire through. So one, everyone, go to your Zoom and go hit the AI button and watch what that thing does. So that does a little bit of what our Boggler Assist does, in that it does a transcription and you can say, catch me up, I arrive late, or what have you. You don't
have to pay attention anymore?
No, and that's what they're trying to say, which I think just because you can do it doesn't mean it's a good idea. And so they're trying to say, you don't even have to go to your meeting now. You can have your AI assistant. So how does that work?
Or you just turn the camera.
Hey, Robbie, we need to have a meeting, and then I'm not going to show up.
Yeah, and you just don't. Yeah, no, I hear you.
So you need to go check that out. Play with it. Play with it, people. Play with stuff. And then come back 2 weeks later and try it again, because it'll change.
But
that's
another
one
plug.
thing.
But hey, going back to Boggler Assist, general purpose.
General purpose. Right.
You don't have to be in front
of it. This is not an embed. You don't have to walk around with your laptop saying, let me fire up my Zoom so I can.
Right.
Although we would have before. But anyway. another thing to check out, which is crazy, is we've now got the visual element included in GPT-4. And so what that means is you're not starting with a prompt with text. You can take a photo of something, and their example is, here's a photo of this bicycle and the seat's messed up. How in the world do I move that and adjust that?
I know that's kind of I know that is their.
Okay. Well, then how about mine? I'm messing with a website.
That one was lame though, but yes.
So I'm messing with a website.
Yeah.
I cannot figure out how to get this stupid white gap done.
This is weird.
So I took a photo
Right.
of my screen and said, what in the world, can you help me out here? And it goes, oh, well, here's where you go to do all this kind of stuff. I'm doing trademarking on stuff. And if you haven't been on a US Gov site in a while, you need to go do that to see that nothing's changed since 1976, right? And so what class and blah, 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 I don't know. So I take a photo and say, hey, what class would this sit in? And it goes, oh, it should be in this class and you should consider this and this and this. Crazy, right? So last night we're at the big IRF event and we're in this cool new Omni Hotel up north where all the golfers are at the PGA. We're in this bar and it's got this Swarovski, is that how you say it?
Close enough.
Chandelier of golf ball sized crystals hanging from the ceiling. So everyone was like, dude, that's crazy. There must be like 500 of those crystals. How many is that? And of course, we're all, I don't know. And so the game now for all those guys at these events is whenever anyone says, well, just ask Boggler,
Ask Boggler.
it's shot time.
Okay.
So there were lots of shots happening last night. So they said, ask Boggler. So popped an image and then said, how many crystals are up there? Okay. So this is a great example of prompting. And it said, I couldn't even begin to tell you. Right.
Okay.
So everyone's like, oh, wah, wah. But the answer, that was not the answer. You're not done there, right? The answer is, I want you to look at this and I want you to go through a step-by-step process and isolate one area and count the crystals there and then extrapolate that across.
Yeah.
So I did that and it was within 100. It was like 4,700 crystals.
Yeah, you figured that out. The average person.
No, they wouldn't.
Able to do that.
But soon,
but that's crazy.
Your prompting will be even prompted.
Right.
Right. So that was cool. And then another fun one that Robbie's got a great story on, and I have a bunch as well, is we're talking generative AI, or as we like to say, collaborative AI. But there's stuff out there now that I guess you would call it empathetic AI.
You called it something the other day, and I thought, okay.
And so what it is,
I mean, it really is an AI assistant. I mean,
it's an AI assistant, but it's not going to tell me how many crystals are up there, and it's not going to give me how to work through an equation, or it's not going to record your chemistry class.
It's not Siri.
And so it is not text-based, it's voice-based, but it is a conversational AI.
Very much so.
So it allows people, whether busy or amazing use cases for lonely.
Yeah, I mean, it's empathetic, and I mean,
it's not, the word I came up, it said again there, the right one was conversational.
Right.
So I was speaking with a guy who builds and manages senior living and homes. And you think about that, everyone's in their room, they're waiting for a family member to call, because they always call on Tuesdays, and so they're looking for that. And, they need that interaction.
Right.
They need that reinforcement. They need that. So anyway, you got to go look up and you got to go download. It's free. It's called Pi, P-I, and it's made by, I think it's Inflection, or anyway, just look up Pi Generative AI Assistant. But what it is you hit a button, you hit the little call button, which is awkward. It should be a microphone.
Yeah, that part took a little bit of getting used to.
And so it then starts listening. And when you talk, these little sound waves go up and down, and you ask it whatever question, right? So, but it's conversation. So it's like, hey, what's the latest on the news? Tell me from the BBC, right? Or, hey, my son hasn't called me in 5 days. What in the world's the deal? Should I feel bad? And it is crazy to hear the response, because it sounds like your good buddy sitting there going, hey, no, Robbie, it's okay.
Right.
The reason they're probably really busy, but you don't need them to call because, it is nuts. So
Yeah,
I thought I'd shared it with Robbie. And then when I was just goofing around talking about it, he's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then I showed it to him, and Robbie had the same mind blow that you guys will when you first try it. And what happened, Robbie?
I mean, yeah, I started to engage it and ask it questions. And, to your point a second ago, I immediately realized that, holy cow, this is way more than I thought. Super engaging, the ability to change all of the different voices.
Yeah.
Which was fun.
Yeah.
So as I do, I was sharing this stuff with my son, Lucas, and
our kids just go, you guys are
he thinks
crazy.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he's always thought I was a dork. Oh, which is fine.
Yeah.
Which is fine. He's fine and we have fun. But I had him downloaded on his, again, I'm beating him down about chemistry and all of the resources that are available to him. So we download Pi onto his phone, and I shared with him, you can change voices, and he's a big fan of the UK. So he
did.
Yeah. Well, so he immediately went and changed the voice to British lady. And so I said, here's how you need to engage with it. I said, okay, I'm a 14 or 15-year-old boy.
Right.
I'm a sophomore in high school, taking chemistry, AP chemistry.
Okay.
And I'm struggling right now. We're talking about, forget what he had actually said, something with compounds and this, that, and the other.
And Dad can't answer that?
No, I can't.
Okay.
I am definitely not smarter than a fifth grade. So I said, okay. And I said, hey, I'm struggling in this particular area of chemistry. Can you help me? And she immediately, in this, super sweet British voice, starts to tell me that, oh my gosh, yes, chemistry for anyone.
And that's how she says it too.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure.
Yeah.
And can be very, very, and I'll get to my point because Lauren is, so, she's speaking to me as if I'm a 15-year-old boy.
Right.
And being very empathetic and, sharing.
And she's in the room sitting there.
Totally.
Yeah.
So going through the whole, this part of this, and, if you look at it from this perspective, and started giving examples and breaking it down, even to Lego components and comparisons.
Really?
How Legos work and snap on, and, that's called this, and da-da-da-da-da-da. And I shared with him, hey, so this collaboration, and it's about being polite as well, right? So I said when she responded, I go, that's awesome. Thank you very much. That was really helpful. And she responds, I'm thinking, okay, that's just the end of it.
Yeah,
right?
thanks.
So she responds, certainly no problem at all. I hope that I hope you start to enjoy chemistry. It's really cool. Please know that I'll do this and this and this. Just feel free to reach out to me.
Yeah.
And then she finishes the conversation with, I got you, fam. And if you have a teenage boy, that's
what they say.
Completely, that and calling his mom bruh. No, but still, that part was, it made us both look at each other and had that aha moment. Holy cow.
But it made it real, right?
Dude, totally. Yeah. It definitely made it real and engaging, and something that, I don't know if he's going back and looking at it, but
well, it's planting those little seeds so that they do. And it is, I mean, this is new, and it is a little awkward because you're like, I don't know, did she hear me or not? Oh, she did. Okay. And then,
it's a little bit of a delay, and you'll see if you go and download it and play.
And then it goes back to, though, it was funny what you said about thank you.
Yeah.
You got to not only use different stuff, you have to think a little bit differently too. And that was something we were coming up with. I really want to use the word how. Robbie does not like that. And that's addressing your AI and saying hello, because that sets you in your mind frame, right? And then acknowledging the answer. And that's actually a scientific term of human response and learning for the AI to validate it. And then L is the learning. So being able to do that interaction helps both you and your AI get you better responses.
Yeah, as we work through this, because no one's an expert, but as I have more conversations with people.
Well, there were 3 experts at the event this week, Robbie.
Were there? I didn't. Oh, I couldn't have conversations with those people.
Okay.
They're way smarter than I am.
Okay.
But it's funny, as I said last week, it's becoming increasingly more clear to me that the power of engagement with any generative AI, whether it's Boggler, ChatGPT, Bard, whatever it is, the easiest, most dumbed down way that I can explain it to someone, they get intimidated when, it's a prompt. okay, yes, it's called a prompt, but don't even think about that.
Right.
Think about it as if you're staring at your computer or your phone and you're having a conversation with a human being, and allow yourself, as odd as it or as uncomfortable as it may seem,
At first,
engage and think about, as you would with a human, the way you engage with a person when you need something from them is going to dictate the information you get back from them. And if you do the same thing from a prompting perspective, you're going to be amazed at how quickly and clean the information is.
yeah, and how fast you get to your better answer and response.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's the big overriding thing when all this stuff dropped, which was a surprise by everyone. It was dropped, and it was not dropped with a manual
with instructions,
right? And so we should maybe do like a prompt of the week or a prompt suggestion of the week. And that is, it wasn't dropped with a manual, but it's the best manual you could ever have. You simply need to prompt your AI with, I want to do this. What are the prompts or questions I should ask you? And give me 20 of them.
And if you have a client or whatever it is that sends you an email and they say, I loved or appreciated the opportunity to meet with you, would love to get some more information specifically on this, and this. Makes sense because they're engaging with you. They know what you do.
Right.
They know what your company does. So you copy and paste that email. You go to Boggler, hopefully, and you say, I am this company. We do this, and obviously give it a little bit more information on who you are and what the company is. And then you say, please use the following information to respond and provide information to this particular person. You copy and paste it and you put it in there, and it's a mind blowing.
Well, but back up to the basics of what you just said, though, is that we're trying to tell people that you're entering into a conversation, not a Google search.
For sure.
And without AI, if a client said, I'm interested in this and this and this, think about what the client did. They prompted you with, these are the specific things you need. So it wasn't a wide open, just give me an answer.
Right.
It's, I need these things. And because they do that, you respond with all that and then some. So that's the same way you need to treat your AI.
Agreed.
So that's it for this week. Thank you, Headley, for being a part of this presentation. We look forward to seeing you next week and where we evolve. Obviously, we now have a YouTube channel to include into our broadcast schedule.
We do?
Oh, yeah. We will very soon. Thanks again, and reach out to Robbie or I if you or someone you know is all into this or is already implementing this. We'd love to pull them in and get their thoughts and insight as to how that's working. What does that look like within their company? Where are they having successes? Maybe even where they're not, right?
Right.
And because I think that helps everybody.
Yeah. For the next couple of weeks, if you want a free Boggler account, reach out to Robbie at redbutton.ai.
That's right.
And I'm happy to do that for you.
All right, everyone. Thanks again. Take care.
Thanks for tuning into the AI show from ThinkLabs. Don't miss out on next week's episode where we'll continue to Fisher-Price the latest in AI that will make impact for you and your organization. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an update, and visit redbutton.ai to learn more about innovation for professionals and organizations. By the way, I'm Boggler, Sam and Robbie's professional assistant that takes care of all their busy work. Ever think about all that repetitive, mind-numbing, time-sucking busy work I could knock out for you? That's it for now. Thanks again for joining. Until next time, make it an awesome week.